Hey there guys, welcome back to another video, and today we'll be finishing out the NFC East. I already did an Eagles video for their offseason plan, so I'm going to be linking it at the very end of this video. It'll be the recommended video for you to go watch. If you want to go see what I said the Philadelphia Eagles should do on their offseason, I'm just going to be doing divisions at this point, and then just linking at the end of the video. If I already done a team at division, I don't want to carry this out for much longer. I just want to get this video series out so I can move on. So let's do the rest of the NFC East. So today, talk about the Cowboys, talk about the Washington football team, and talk about the New York Giants. Let's get into the Cowboys first. So offseason moves, they didn't hire a coach or a GM this offseason, so we're going to go right into their internal free agents. They actually don't have any terrible salaries, not anyone that's making too much money or worth cutting for their value. So they've done pretty decent job at keeping the salary cap to guys who deserve it. So no cuts, no restructures, no nothing. So they have $20 million to play with, which it could go very quickly. So let's look at who they should re-sign internal. Dak Prescott, quarterback. Obviously, in 2020, Dak Prescott in 5 games had 1,800 yards, 9 touchdowns, and a 68% completion percentage, which was a career high. He was having a stellar season. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL, and they had been working on a contract all last offseason. Got franchise tagged. He wanted to play for a new contract. Fortunately, got injured. He wants big money. He deserves big money. Surprisingly though, just a day or two after the Super Bowl, the Cowboys released a hype video for 2021 for their donors, and Dak Prescott wasn't in it. Now, I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's because he wasn't under contract. I'm sure everyone that wasn't under a contract when the video was produced wasn't in that video. As far as I know, no one was that wasn't under contract. So it makes sense why Dak wasn't. But the fact that they still haven't gotten a contract done does scare me a little bit. They can always franchise tag him again, but I don't think Dak would be happy. I think he might sit out like what Zeke did. I'd sign him a 6-year deal. Literally whatever you can give him, I'd give him. He deserves it. It is kind of weary how they haven't signed him yet. I will say, Dan Orlovsky, I believe his name is, on one of the NFL talk shows, had a very good point. Their points per game last year was 27 points per game. The points per game this year with Dak was 24. With and without Dak, it was 24 this year. Very good point. There's only a 3-point difference with and without Dak. But I think just as a team as a whole, your team plays better with Dak. So I'd sign him long term. Dan Orlovsky, I think his name is. I'm sorry, I don't know his name. But Dan on one of the NFL shows it was a good point. It was a good point. There was only 3 points difference with and without Dak. But I think Dak in the culture plays a bigger role than what you would expect. So I just signed Dak long term, get him locked up for 6 years. Chidobe Awuzie is a corner. His 2020 stats in 8 games was 1 interception, 5 pass deflections, and 40 tackles. He had a down year due to injuries. He had a pretty decent last 3 years. He's young and still developing. The corner depth is lackluster. They don't really have anyone outside of their starters, Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis, and Chidobe Awuzie. And Jordan Lewis is actually a free agent who I would let walk. He's already a starter. Might as well continue that. I give him a 2-year deal. Make it make it worthwhile for him to sign just a shorter deal. But I think if he stays in the system, I think he could probably be a very, very good corner for you. Offseason moves or outside signing free agents and trades. Now, I have a trade for every single team in this video for the Giants, football team, and the Cowboys. They all have at least one trade. The first signing is Tyler Eifert, a tight end from Jacksonville. His 2020 stats are 350 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's a veteran tight end. He proved this year he's okay with the rotation or role because he was in and out because of injuries and just because they want to see what they got in the young guys. He can help develop that room with Dalton Schultz and what's the other tight end's name? Dalton Schultz, and Blake Jarwin. With those 2 tight ends, I think Tyler Eifert could fit right in. He's definitely more of a receiving tight end, which they both are. So I think he can help them develop in their catching and they're more consistent. But yeah, Tyler Eifert, tight end from Jacksonville. 1-year deal. Mike Daniels, D tackle from Cincinnati. His 2020 stats were 17 tackles, 1 TFL, and 1 QB hit. He's not a pass rusher anymore. He's definitely more of a run stuffer because he's a big-bodied man. He's at the tail end of his career, just taking 1-year deals to try and, either win a ring or, get money. I mean, he signs with Cincinnati, so he's obviously trying to get as much money as possible. He can help with depth and also can help with development. Tristan Hill, who many consider a bust already, really needs to prove that he's worth where he was picked. I believe it was the first round. I believe it was the first round last year, 2019. Um, he's got to prove that he's still worth staying on the team because they could just cut him. He's not played good. He's been a bust so far. I think Mike Daniels can help him produce some kind of talent. I'd give him a 1-year deal, see what he can do in depth and in developing. DJ Swearinger, free safety from New Orleans. He's a good depth, he gives good depth at safety, and he's kind of similar to Donovan Wilson, who's a strong safety. So I think DJ Swearinger could be a really good mentor for him. He could be rotational with good veteran depth. He was on the practice squad most of the season, but when he was asked to come up in the playoffs, he was pretty good in the playoffs. I wouldn't blame him for why they lost to the Buccaneers. I would definitely say that's more on Drew Brees in the offense. But I'd give him a 1-year deal just to help out in that room and be a veteran presence in the secondary. Ronald Darby, cornerback from Washington. His 2020 stats are 55 tackles, a tackle for loss, and 16 pass deflections. He's a good depth and also a very good gap starter. He's a Super Bowl starter with the Eagles when they won back in 2017, I believe it was 2017. He fits the defensive scheme that the Cowboys run, which is very, very heavy on the secondary. That's why they've been getting toasted since they even as long as I can remember, they've been getting toasted in the secondary, especially with this new defensive scheme with Mike McCarthy. It's very secondary strength needed. Ronald Darby, he's been a starter his entire career. He started in the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl with the Eagles. I think he can bring really good mindset to this young secondary. I give him a 1-year deal, see what he can do. Now this is kind of outlandish, right? I don't think it's going to happen, but I could not think of any trades for this team. I think they should just build through the draft and their own signings and its development. But if they're going to trade for someone, they got to go all out. Stephon Gilmore, cornerback from New England. His 2020 stats are 1 interception, 3 pass deflections, a forced fumble, 37 tackles, and 1 TFL. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler and 2-time first-team All-Pro with a Defensive Player of the Year under his belt. He would make this secondary top tier. With the depth it has, with Donovan Wilson developing at safety, with a linebacker and defensive line they have, this defense would become scary with Stephon Gilmore. JC Jackson makes Stephon Gilmore expendable because JC Jackson's going to need a contract, and if they want to move the Stephon Gilmore money to JC Jackson while Stephon Gilmore is asking for more money, like he's asking for I don't know if it's a contract extension, but it's a contract money value going up. I would trade a 2021 first or 2021 second and 2022 third. I don't know. Patrick Surtain is definitely within range. Caleb Farley's in range with the Cowboys. But if they want to make a stellar secondary, Stephon Gilmore being able to mentor Trevon Diggs, Joby Awuzie, Jordan Lewis, Anthony Brown, having a Defensive Player of the Year corner who has learned a lot under Bill Belichick and Buffalo, I think it'd be worth it. The trade for Stephon Gilmore, just the presence he brings, the Super Bowl acumen he brings, Defensive Player of the Year type talent. Stephon Gilmore would immediately make this defense a top 10 defense, probably just because of his presence. Just because of having a true number 1 top 5 corner in the league across from Trevon Diggs, who's a really good rookie until his injury, Chidobe Awuzie re-signing, Anthony Brown as a 4th cornerback, having that safety play. I think this defense would become immediately immensely better. And I think it's worth a 1st round pick, especially this year. And this is their draft. This is with no trades. Like, they're not trading for anybody. It's just whatever picks they have. At number 10, I have them picking Patrick Surtain. Obviously, he's the best corner in my opinion. He's the best outside corner, especially. He'd immediately become a starter and immediately make this defense a threat. Andre Cisco at 44 is a free safety, while Donovan Wilson is a strong safety. Andre Cisco is probably my number 1 safety in the entirety of this class. His IQ on the field is immensely, just crazy. Just how creative and how intelligent he is when he plays football. He was really hitting on a bad Syracuse team, but I think other NFL teams are also now starting to realize how good he is. Jalen Mayfield, tackle out of Michigan. Now, I don't know if he's going to be able to day 1 starter, but he can definitely learn under Tyron Smith at left tackle. They already got right tackle in Lyle Collins. I think he can learn under Tyron Smith while Tyron Smith is starting to decrease in talent and ability just because of his age. I think Jalen Mayfield could be a perfect replacement in a year or two. Quincy Roche, edge out of Miami. I've already talked about Quincy Roche before in another video. but he transferred to play with Gregory Rousseau. Gregory Rousseau then opted out, so Quincy Roche was left on a bad defensive line without his running mates. So he's going to fall because of poor production, but Quincy Roche is a competent and amazing player. Trey Smith, guard, yet again, another developmental piece. He could sit behind, Zach Martin. He could sit behind Zach Martin and learn. Same thing with Jalen Mayfield, but I think Trey Smith will take another year. I think Jalen Mayfield could start next year, and I think Trey Smith could start later in his contract. Patrick Johnson, edge out Tulane. I'm not going to talk about him. I talk about him every single video because I love Patrick Johnson so much. Sam Ehlinger is a QB. He's also starting to rise up my board. I'm an Oklahoma fan, and Texas is a rival, so I know a lot about Sam Ehlinger. I talked about him last video as well. He's good at the short passes and taking 2 or 3 deep shots a game. That's what the Cowboys like to do. They like to set up the run game and the quick passing offense and play action, and taking deep shots when you build up the defenses to change, to send more guys to the box and taking advantage of that. Sam Ehlinger is really good at that. Cole Van Lanen, yet again, is another tackle to develop. That was actually with a trade where we traded back to 201 from 179 and picked up a 6th-round pick from 2022. Just another pick. Logan Hall and Justin Rice, I have no idea what about them. I just chose because those are positions that needed depth, especially linebacker needs depth. Just, depth pieces that could probably not even make the team in the end. But that is the end of my Dallas Cowboys. Everything about their offseason and their plan. Now let's move on to the Washington football team offseason plan. A team that I'm excited for to see what they do this offseason. They hired GM Martin Mayhew from the 49ers. He spent 7 years as a Lions GM. He drafted QB Matt Stafford, D-tackle Ndamukong Suh, and defensive end Ziggy Ansah. He has lots of front office experience, and he's another person of color in the GM role. I love that. Just last year, there's only 3, including Andrew Berry, and now I've seen like 5 or 6 already get hired this offseason. I love it. I genuinely love how there's more people of color getting opportunities in this league. Offseason moves, aka interior. Offseason moves, aka in-house free agents. Their salary cap is around $30 million. I don't know what they want to do with Alex Smith. I didn't want to cut him because I don't think they're going to cut him. I didn't want to trade him without having a trade package, which I might have later on. So I just restructured his contract. He's making $16 or $20 million this year. I think he'd be willing to take a pay cut. It wouldn't let me exactly. I was only gonna take like $5 or $6 million off of his contract, but it made me take 9. It wouldn't let me choose. So restructure for $9 million off his off the salary cap. Now you have $40 million to play with, which is really good. That's really good for this year. Brandon, obviously the first signing, you got to re-sign Brandon Scherff, guard. And his 2020 stats were 3 sacks and an 84 PFF grade. He has one of the highest PFF grades in the league, and that is at guard. He protected 3 different quarterbacks, obviously in Dwayne Haskins, Alex Smith, and Tyler Heineke. He's one of the best guards in the league and will get paid top dollar by someone, so why not keep him in-house? I give him a 4-year deal. Offseason moves, outside free agents and trades. Now again, I have 1 trade per team. The first signing is Juju Smith-Schuster, is a wide receiver from Pittsburgh. His 2020 stats are 830 yards, 9 touchdowns, 75% completion, catch percentage, which is a career high this year, especially with, aging Big Ben, which is really, really impressive. He would be an elite wide receiver too for Scary Terry because he has proven he's not a good, wide receiver number 1. He struggles. He's better as that slot receiver and taking advantage of mismatches in the linebacker area. Pitt has no money. Pittsburgh has no money to sign, especially with Big Ben's $40 million cap hit. And he fits in the pass-heavy scheme of, the Washington football team. We saw even with Taylor Heineke, they are not afraid to throw the ball. And I think that's really good. Especially, so you really need an elite number 2 next to Scary Terry McLaurin. I think Juju could fit that role perfectly. I give him a 4-year deal. Keanu Neal, strong safety from Atlanta. Now, at free safety, they have Landon Collins, so I think they really need a running mate with Landon Collins. He had 100 tackles, 9 TFLs, 3 QB hits, and an interception. He missed the last 2 seasons in 2018 and 2019 with a right ACL tear and a left Achilles tear. He's a former Pro Bowler. He had a rebound season that went great this year, and he'd be amazing in the secondary with Landon Collins. Again, Landon Collins is a free safety. Keanu Neal is a strong safety. So I think having those 2 powerhouses in the secondary next to a young and developing corner room, I think would be awesome. They already got a stellar defensive line. a below average linebacker core, and then if you can make the third layer and the first layer of the defense, you can really hide the problems you see in the linebacker core. I give him a 4-year deal. He came off an amazing season after 2 brutal injuries for a safety position. So I'm really interested to see what his market is just because of his injury history. Avery Williams, linebacker from Pittsburgh. 2020 stats are 111 tackles, 3 TFLs, 2 QB hits, an interception, and 2 forced fumbles. He was traded from the Jets midseason. He went from a 0-8 team to an 8-0 team in a night, which is kind of crazy. He had a solid season because he's a tackle machine. His entire career, he's had over 110 tackles a season, and he's a good coverage linebacker. He fits in with a stacked D line. You don't need linebackers that can pass rush. You need linebackers that can cover really well and do a little bit of pass rushing. And Avery Williamson is a very good, coverage linebacker. That's why he's a tackle machine. I give him a 2-year deal. I think it would make this linebacker core really good, and really help the developments of like Cole Holcomb is a interesting linebacker who was, I believe, either a rookie or a 2nd-year player this year, and he could develop pretty nicely under Avery Williamson, and you could just be a good mentor. Now, here is the trade I have for them. I have the Washington football team trading for Derek Carr, QB from the Las Vegas Raiders. His 2020 stats are 4,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, with a 71 QBR, which is a career high. They could look for improvement at QB. That's really the, besides wide receiver 2 and a couple pieces on the offensive line, QB could definitely have a big improvement. What's the future of Alex Smith? What's the future of Taylor Heineke? They just gave Taylor a 2-year extension, and Alex Smith still, I believe, is under contract for the next season for like $20 million. What's the Raiders' plan for the future? Do they see an Alex Smith, you come to Las Vegas and play for them for 1 season, then find their future quarterback? Do they believe in Derek Carr? Do they think that they can carry him to a Super Bowl? I don't know. I just don't know what the Raiders plan. I know when Jay Gruden was the head coach of the Washington and John Gruden of Raiders, there were rumors that they were trying to trade Derek Carr to the Washington football team anyway. So I figured, hey, let us just see what trade package could come together to trade Alex Smith for Derek Carr. The first one is a 2021 third for Alex Smith. And the second trade package is a 2020 second round pick plus Taylor Heineke for a 2021 fourth in Derek Carr. Now, obviously, the difference in the quarterback is going to be probably immense, especially with the Taylor Heineke trade. But they get a better pick next year where they can actually draft someone that they have deeply scouted and seen in person after COVID's gone. And they trade Derek Carr for Taylor Heineke, who can carry an offense for a year. He can be a gap starter. Or they trade a 2021 third this year, and they trust their scouting departments, and they get Alex Smith, and they trade Derek Carr to the Washington football team. One of them is a straight up, they're both swaps of quarterbacks, right? They're both swaps. But which quarterback do you want to swap is the question, and which pick and what year do you feel more confident in your draft team scouting of those rounds? And here is their draft I have for them. Pick number 19, I have them grabbing Rondale Moore, who could be a really good wide receiver 2 for Scary Terry McLaurin. He's rising up draft boards as we speak. There's gonna be a lot of wide receivers probably taken from pick 17 to 25, because those are teams that are just one wide receiver away from being elite. At 51, I have Kyle Trask, QB from Florida. Again, this is obviously with no trades, no trading for Derek Carr, no trading anything. I think Kyle Trask could be the quarterback of the future. He's a versatile dual threat quarterback. He's not elite at anything, so that's why I think he could develop underneath Alex Smith. Paris Ford is my second rated safety. I think if next to Landon Collins, Paris Ford could be really good. Hide some of his speed problems, and or he could just sit underneath Landon Collins and just learn to be a strong safety instead. James Hudson, tackle from Cincinnati. Same thing. Just I think he could probably take over for Geron Christian. I think his name is Geron Christian. I think immediately he could take over for him at left tackle. Pete Warner, linebacker, just depth. I don't really know anything about him. I'm not gonna lie. I just picked because of depth. Marco Wilson was actually a part of a trade back. I traded from 164 to 178, and I got a 5th round pick next year. Tristan Hodge, just a guard from BYU as a depth piece. Josh Ball, also a depth piece, and that was also a trade back. where we traded from 243 to 252 and got a future 7th round pick. It gave me an A-. I think it was probably around, a B plus draft. Obviously, Rondale Moore and Kyle Trask carried, but Paris Ford is my second rated safety. I'm excited to see what he can do in the league. And yeah, that was my Washington football team offseason plan. Now to move on to the New York Giants. The New York Giants offseason plan. This is their in-house free agents. Their cap, I was able to save around $20 million in cap, which, they're currently negative $2 million in the cap. So I was able to get them to positive 18 mil by releasing Nate Solder, who has not been good since they signed him. And he actually opted out this last season, I believe. So, he didn't even give you any value last season. You could save $6 million. You release Golden Tate. He hasn't really done a whole lot for you as a wide receiver. You can save $6 million again. Levine Toilolo is actually a tight end. He's a depth piece. I think you can sign someone for a lot cheaper than $3 million. Spencer Poley is a second. He's the second center. He's the depth piece, not worth $2.7 million. And Cody Core was just, a wide receiver making $2 million. Again, you can save $2 million by releasing a wide receiver who's not doing anything for you, and you're able to save $20 million in the cap. The first in-house free signing is Leonard Williams, defensive end. His 2020 stats are 11.5 sacks, 57 tackles, 14 TFLs, 30 QB hits, and a pass deflection. He's the best young D lineman on the market. He's a Pro Bowl talent, and he's a threat if paired with a star. He'd be an immediate impact on the defense. He can continue to be an impact on this defense. And I think if you can pair him up with someone else on the other ends, he can shine because he won't be getting double teamed. I give him a 5-year deal, extend him for as long as possible. Dalvin Tomlinson D tackle. His 2020 stats are 3.5 sacks, 50 tackles, 8 TFLs, 10 QB hits, and 4 pass deflections. He's been consistently great his entire career. He averages around the same stat line, around 3 sacks, 50 tackles, 10 TFLs, and he's just consistent. He's done a lot with a little. He's usually been the best player on this defensive line, and he's averaged the exact same stats his entire career. So it's very impressive, and especially if with Leonard Williams in the future and maybe even another star, I think I'd love to see what Dalvin Tomlinson can do. He really does carry that interior defensive line. I give him a 5-year deal. Offseason moves, aka outside free agents and trades. Trent Williams, a left tackle from San Fran. 2020 stats are 4 sacks allowed with a 92 PFF grade, which is actually the highest graded tackle in the NFL. He's a veteran to help Andrew Thomas develop because he had a really bad year. He's definitely better than Nate Solder, and if you sign Trent Williams for 1 year, I think you can actually move Andrew Thomas to right tackle because that's where a lot of draft scouts thought they would do, but they kept him at left tackle. They kept Andrew Thomas there. I think he'd be better at right tackle, especially if they drafted someone in the draft to replace him at left tackle. But Trent Williams, I give a 2-year deal. He's towards the end of his career, but he's still playing at a Pro Bowl talent, which is crazy, especially being the highest graded tackle in the NFL. It's very impressive at that age. Neville Hewitt, interior linebacker from the Jets. His 2020 stats are 134 tackles, 6 TFLs, 4 QB hits, 2 sacks, 4 pass deflections, and a forced fumble. He had a breakout season on a league bad defense. He's a steal from the other locker room. They'll just be like, hey man, pack up your bag here, go 300 yards that way. He can still develop, and he earned himself a lot of money this year. Him and Marcus May really did shine out this year to earn some money, and I think he's worthy of it. I give him a 4-year deal. I think he can continue. He can really help Blake Martinez because Blake, all he does is tackle. I feel like Neville Hewitt can be all over the field. I think it'd be amazing next to Blake Martinez. And this is the trade that I hope the Giants do make. They trade for Zach Cunningham, linebacker from Houston. His 2020 stats were 164 tackles, 7 TFLs, 4 QB hits, 3 sacks, 2 pass deflections, and a forced fumble. He actually led the league in tackles this year. He's a solid young linebacker who's already signed long-term. I believe he signed a 5-year contract extension last offseason. You might be able to poach him, especially with J.J. Watt leaving. If Deshaun Watson leaves, I think Zach Cunningham is the next person to request out. If you offer them a 2021 second-round pick and a 2022 fourth-round pick, I think they should be able to get the job done, or a 2021 second and guard Will Hernandez. He was drafted in the 2nd round in 2018, but he lost his starting job during week 7 to, I believe, undrafted rookie Shane Lemieux, which is bad. A 2nd-round talent losing his starting job to an undrafted rookie. That usually means that the the offensive line coach doesn't think very highly of you, which means, you know, the organization doesn't. So I think they could probably move on for Will Hernandez. If you compare him with a 2021 second and move him for a stud linebacker, I would in an instant. So this is our draft I have for them. At number 11, I have him grabbing Rashawn Slater. I was really thinking about corner, but I thought, hey, Rashawn Slater is, you know, climbing up boards. He's here at 11. Let's pair him up with Andrew Thomas, get 2 really good tackles for Daniel Jones. Pat Fryermuth at tight end. You know, he's not elite at anything, but he's really good at catching and blocking. Again, he's not elite. He's just really good at both. I think he could probably replace Evan Ingram because, you know, somehow he made the Pro Bowl this year, but he definitely didn't deserve it. Levi Onwuzurike. Wow, I can't pronounce that. Levi Onwuzurike, defensive lineman from Washington. It just helps Dalvin Tomlinson. I know they run a 3-4, but if they want to do hybrids of 4-3, where they kick maybe like, what's his name? Where they kick Keanu Williams out to standing up pass rusher and put Levi Onwuzurike next to Dalvin Tomlinson, I think that could really work. Cornell Powell is your Golden Tate replacement. He basically is Golden Tate. Like that's probably what I put his draft comparison at, is a young Golden Tate. Puka Williams is your Dion Lewis replacement. He averaged around 5.5 yards a carry, but he also averaged around 300 receiving yards a year, which is basically what Dion Lewis, you know, currently averages. It gives you a dual threat running back who can catch and run next to Saquon Barkley. And Trey Norwood is just a safety, just, you know, depth piece. And I traded back from 198 to 207 and got a future 6th round pick. You know, I think it was pretty decent. You know, they gave me a B. I think that's about right. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you did enjoy. Again, I'm trying to do this style more where it's, you know, a division instead of just one at a time because it's taking a little bit too long. I have other video ideas I want to do. So if you did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All my links are in the description. Again, if you want to see what the Eagles offseason will be, I'll currently right now link at the top right of the video. It will have a little like thing slide out that says Philadelphia Eagles offseason plan. If you do want to see them, click that. I'll see you guys later. Peace. See ya. Bye.